Okay, this is in Ohio, the Ohio Amish Schoolhouse Auction. It happens every year, millions of buggies. This is kind of an odd thing. I was in Sulphur, Louisiana, and we were raising money for the cemetery that had been wrecked by Katrina, and these women are daughters of the American Revolution. The TV people were there. This woman in the middle is a TV person, and I just liked the fact that she was so light-skinned, and she had her camera there, and these women in the dark were around her. So I just look at things and I make stuff up. If I don't have something to photograph, I'll make something up. We can do that, photographic license. This is Jay photographing with them again. Okay, I was in Guatemala with a friend of mine. She's in the audience too, Sandra. We're in Lanai, and that's where we're staying there. And they said there's Amish in the back here. And I said, well, how are we going to get that back there? They didn't know. I said, well, maybe we can find something that will drive us. So we found a guy with a truck. We started driving around. I came to this homestead, and they had a 25-family reunion. So I walked up, and again, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. I asked, may I come and take pictures, and I'll send them to you? Of course, they said yes, because here are the pictures. But I get to see and do a lot of things by just asking. One of the boys raised birds, and this just happened. I was photographing him holding the bird, and the bird started to fly away. So you've always got to be ready. Okay, I'm in Ireland, visiting a friend of mine. My husband with the Dallas Symphony is over in Europe. He wanted to meet me for a day in Dublin. So I said, okay, I'll go to Ireland and visit my friends, and I'll meet you in London when the symphony hits. So, of course, that's when Princess Diana died. That was 1998. So I go there, and he leaves with the symphony, and I say, I'm supposed to leave to go home, but I said, you know, I'm going to stay on and photograph Princess Diana's funeral. So here's Buckingham Palace. I go up and I'm photographing, and you can see all the flowers. The bobbies were here. The bobby said, push back, Queen coming through. 4 hours later. But I was right at the front. I mean, I was right there. And I already had to go to the restroom 1 hour. So 4 more hours, I thought I was going to die. But I said I knew I would never be that close to the Queen again. So I was able to photograph the Queen and so on. This was a very stressful time because it was exciting, stressful. I was by myself. At that time, in '98, you could throw your equipment into the lockers at the airport. You can't do that anymore. So all I had on me was my vest and my cameras and my film. Yeah, you can't imagine 3 feet deep these flowers were. And I said, where are all these flowers coming from? I couldn't believe even that nobody took them out of the wrapper. It was kind of funny to see them all in the wrappers. Here's the day of the funeral. I slept out 12 hours, but we never slept. It was a long night. It was the longest night I can remember. And anyway, the gun carriage came by and so on. And at night McDonald's was open, so we could use the restroom and we could buy food and so on. And then in the morning, here it came. You could, like Michael Jackson's funeral, people were, in England, people were so friendly and met so many people, but they also, it was quiet. You could hear a pin drop with thousands of people out here lining the streets when this passed by. I think this tells the story how everybody felt that day of these 5 men. Okay, Harley Davidson. My brother lives in Milwaukee, and I like anything. I mean, I'll try anything, do anything. I don't have a bike. I'd like to have a bike one day, but that would tie me down to the bike, and I really want to be able to fly all over the place and can't go on a bike across the ocean. In 2003, my friend Gail, who's here, some of you have met her, she said, oh, come down to Nogle, Texas, and we'll photograph down here this weekend. And I said, Nogle, Texas this weekend? I'm going to the Harley Davidson 100th anniversary party. And she said, okay, I'm going with you. She didn't even bother to ask. She didn't have that book yet. So anyway, we took off and we did this. This is Willie G. He is the grandson of Mr. Davidson, of Harley Davidson, this man here on the right. He's coming out first. So we're watching these bikes go by. Whoops, let's go back to that. We're watching bikes. 1,000 bikes had gone by, and I said I had 3 people with me, a couple of the photographers and Gail too. And I said, does anybody want to, I see 1,000 bikes go by here. I've got the same pictures from the same spot. I breathe the same kind of exhaust. I said, there's only one person on a lot of these bikes. Does anybody want to ride a bike? And they go, oh, you can't do that. And I said, every man for himself. I'll see you later, alligator. So In I go, police and all. I just kind of walk in with my 2 cameras hanging out. I think I look more official with 2 cameras anyway. And I asked the first man, I said, hey, I'm a photographer, can I ride in the back of your bike? And he goes, oh, I don't know. My wife's back there. And I go, and mind you, there's 10,000 bikes peeling out of this zoo that they're coming out of. And there were 300,000 bikes at this whole convention thing. Anyway, he says, my wife's back there. I go, too slow, next. So I asked the next guy, and that was this man here. I said, can I ride on your bike? I'm a photographer. He said, sure, darling, hop on. That's what it's all about. So, of course, I took a million pictures of him, but this is one of the most fun things I've ever done. I'm on the back of a bike getting from the inside. Gail also got to ride, too. She was able to get there, too. But my friends that were sitting on the curb, when they saw Gail come out, they knew I was going to be on a bike, so they got pictures of me. They didn't get any of her. And I can't find the ones of me at the moment, but next talk I'm going to have those in there. It was just fun. It was just great fun. With the camera, you can do just about anything. Okay, we're in Texas, bluebonnets. Bluebonnets, I've shot them every year for the last 20 years, looking for new places to go and photograph. In 1986 or 88, I don't know what it was, I entered this in competition. They said, this is terrible, it's digital. They didn't give me any hard marks. Now, because it wasn't digital, guys, it was soft focus lens and it was, film. But now that I'm not shooting digital and entering the competitions, they go, oh, if it isn't digital, it's no good. I can't win. Anyway, wisteria, I love flowers. The key is to train yourself not just to look, but to see constantly. I am looking all the time. Flowers are my favorite subject to photograph too. Of course, I study Georgia O'Keeffe and look at her work and so on and so forth. I've shot thousands of flowers, guys. I would knock on doors of people where they had flowers growing in their garden, and I'd say, hi, and I would have 2 cameras off me, and my car parked out in front of their house. I'd knock on the door, I didn't know them, and I'd say, you don't know me from a bar of soap, but I'm a photographer, and I love your flowers. I would like to come back and photograph when the lighting is good. I will not knock on the door. You can see my car there. Would that be okay? I don't know anybody that didn't say yes, and I said, I will bring you back pictures of your flowers in about 3 or 4 weeks. I met a lot of people that way, and I photographed a lot of flowers. I'm always testing, experimenting. These are all done in film and in a soft focus lens. This is very high grain film. Love the high grain. I thought, I'm photographing these, I'll photograph them from the back. Or the magnolias. I would knock on people's doors and say, can I cut a magnolia from your tree and I'm going to take it home and photograph it and I'll give you pictures. Well, I started doing that and it didn't last very long because those magnolias turned brown. So then I'd bring a ladder and say, can I climb the ladder and photograph your magnolias up in the tree? And so that you got to, where there's a will, there's a way. Peonies are one of my favorite flowers to photograph. Okay, frost. Whenever there's weather, I'm out there shooting this. There's frost on the leaves here. I photograph soldiers for free. Anybody that fights for our country, I photograph them free. Okay, have camera will travel. I walk into Sonny Bryant's on Inwood. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. It's a dive. It's a hole in the wall. Well, I always have my cameras with me. It was in the car. I walk and I see Julia Child. I said, oh, my God. I run to the car. I happen to have Grinches. There was a movie out, The Grinches, that year, and I happened to have those. So I said to Julia, do you mind if I bring the Grinches in and we'll hold those? She said, sure. So I go out to the car, I get my cameras, I put my order in, get the camera, and I get the Grinches, and I have her sitting there holding them. Well, I didn't realize there was cameramen all over there. They were filming her sitting there. She wasn't sitting there by herself in Dallas, Texas. I only got one shot because they were on me and said, no more pictures. I said, well, Julia said I could take it. Back off and everything. I photographed Dr. Phil. I admire him. I really liked him when he was on Oprah and started. He's a human behaviorist. That's what I do with people and photographing. I like how he handles people. Anyway, I had the chance to photograph him up at UNT because there was a fundraiser up there. Of course, I brought my book. Forgot to tell him to sign it or ask him to sign it. But he's kind of difficult. He came out and they said, Gail, Dr. Phil's all yours. And I said, great. Does that mean I get to tell Dr. Phil what to do? He says, you can tell me what to do. It doesn't mean I'm going to do it. At the symphony, Anthony Hopkins was at the symphony, so my daughter and I went down, and my husband, and he was at rehearsal, and we were talking to Anthony Hopkins. It was fun. I photographed Mike Madonna. He does Jonathan's Place. He does a lot of stuff for them. Coretta Scott King came here, and the group asked me if Jewish Family Services...